Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. It is the final episode of our Look Inside preview. We have, of course, the two Super Bowl teams, the 49ers and the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk some predictions for the season on the betting front, and hey, might even throw in some Madden rankings as they have dropped throughout this entire week. And there are some definite head scratchers at the running back position. We have our own Hoov joining the show. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. As always, Josh, Ryan. Hello, gentlemen. How are we?
Hello, Joseph.
Hello. And first time on NPI, I believe?
So, yeah.
Mr. Hoov. Hello, sir.
I believe so. I believe this is a debut for your boy Hoov, but that's all right. We're going to break down the best team in the NFL, Los
Kansas
49ers.
City.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. How we doing? All right, let's get to it.
Bang Bang Niner Gang sounds like a category on the
Bang, bang.
on the orange website. On the blue checkmark website.
This is Club Fantasy. We keep it to it. All right.
Let me tell you, a lot of those categories are fantasy, so I think it fits in perfectly on those websites, if you ask me. NFL news before we dive into it. The first NFL game is tomorrow. Forgot about that. You will see in just under 24 hours, not Caleb Williams playing against not CJ Stroud.
Whew. Barn burner.
What an electric matchup. Now, the only thing I will ever remember about the Hall of Fame game is the Titans running the fake punt, and that's the great in the Oilers uniforms, and that's the greatest moment of any Hall of Fame game. I will watch the first two snaps, be like, oh, look, it's back, and then realize there's literal high school football players playing on that field, and then just turn it
off. The best Hall of Fame game was the one where the field was so fucked up they canceled it. That was my favorite.
That's crazy. That's an awesome one. And I believe today, if not yesterday, the Bears and wide receiver DJ Moore reached an agreement, 4 years, $110 million extension, $82.6 million guaranteed. That's the seventh highest paid wide receiver in average annual value. The first, I would say DJ Moore is a top level receiver in the NFL. The first time, it seems in recent memory, that a top level player doesn't reset the market. What a concept. What a concept that a guy is paid roughly at his value, maybe a little higher, but roughly. If I told you DJ Moore was the seventh highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, you'd be like, okay, like that's fine. Like even if you think like he's 12 or 13, you're like, okay, maybe they overpaid him a little bit, but it's not like, yeah, let's give, Jordan Love, who's 1-1 in the playoffs, $55 million a year.
I was thinking about that today. I was reading about his contract extension again, and I was like, dude had one good year. And here you go. And
it wasn't even a full good year either. He had like half of a good year.
Here's a quarter of a Billy. Thanks.
He's getting paid as wide receiver 7. He finishes wide receiver 6 in half PPR and full PPR leagues last year. So he is getting a little discount. That's all right. He knows that the future of Chicago is very, very bright. So he wants to be a part of it.
And Roman Doomsday is going to make life a lot easier for him in the next few years. And Keenan Allen is going to help him this year. So
damn Skippy.
Damn right he is. All right. Let us move into, actually, before we dive into our first team, I have been told there is a sponsor read that I am not let in on. I don't have security clearance to read this, so I will kick it over to Ryan, who will break down everything for us. No, I will.
Deer in headlights.
Deer in headlights. I will send it over to Josh because we are officially partners with Trophy Smack. Go ahead, Josh.
Yes, sir. And by we, I mean women in fantasy football. But as again,
literally none of
part
us.
It's all part of the family here at Club Fantasy. But women in fantasy football and Trophy Smack, we've been working on this deal now for about a year. look, Trophy Smack is absolutely fantastic. If you're in Scott Fishbowl, you've seen the craziness that goes into the live drafts that they put on. Matt Walsh, absolutely fantastic person. Our own Kelly Singh is their VP of marketing. But what they are working on in partnership with Women in Fantasy Football should be coming to light here in the next couple of weeks. But till then, if you need draft boards, you need championship rings, you need belts, you want decorative wall art, head over to trophysmack.com/WOFF. That's WOFF. Use that affiliate link. Get all of your merch and anything that you need from Trophy Smack. We've got you covered. I'm so incredibly excited for this partnership. Once again, it's trophysmack.com/WOFF. And you can get anything and everything you need for the upcoming fantasy football season. I'll have another announcement with this towards the end of the show, but it's a lot of fun.
We're not let in on these things. We're simply just, hey, here it is.
On for the ride, baby.
Sounds good. I am here to open the show doc 5 minutes before the show and talk about it. That's what I'm not paid to do. That's why I'm here. And we will go into our first team in the Bay Area. Very excited. I will be seeing their stadium this year as they ass pound the New England Patriots in week 4. The San Francisco 49ers, 12-5 last year. Same coach, Kyle Shanahan. Same offense, the one where this guy has lost 3 Super Bowls because of his offensive play calling, Kyle Shanahan. Soon to be a 4th loss in the Super Bowl. Who knows? Who's to say? But if San Francisco gets there, I'm taking a lot of money out to bet on the opposing team that Kyle Shanahan blows the fucking championship again. So, right back at you, Kyle. Projected starting offense. We have Brock Purdy, quarterback 12, and this is underdog ADP as of July 30th. Joshua Dobbs, backup, undrafted.
Dog.
Nobody thinking that Josh Dobbs is going to take Brock Purdy's job. Nobody's thinking that. Christian McCaffrey, his job safe. He's the RB1. Some of you may say, Joe, wasn't there another running back there in San Francisco that people were infatuated with for a little bit and you hated? You're correct. And that would be Elijah Mitchell, who's RB55. Wow. What a drop off from heaven that was. What a short 2 runs he had, and then, that's about it. Jordan Mason, RB82, and Isaac Guerendo, thank you. The rookie out of Louisville, if I'm not mistaken.
And a former Wisconsin Badger. Can't forget about the Badgers. Go Badgers.
Hey, Wisconsin has produced some pretty good running backs, so you never know. You never know.
How you doing?
Debo Samuel, wide receiver 1, is wide receiver 13. Contractless Brandon Aiyuk is wide receiver 16. Ricky Pearsall, the soon-to-be wide receiver 2, is wide receiver 68. Juwan Jennings, jack of all trades, wide receiver 98. And Jacob Cowing, wide receiver 124. And the only tight end Josh decided to list was none other than the man starring in the show called Receiver as a tight end, George Kittle, tight end 7. And we will start with the man having the contract issues, Brandon Aiyuk. Who, if you want to talk about him, he's wide receiver 16. Are you thinking he goes to another team? Are you avoiding him at all costs? I'm very interested why you chose Aiyuk to talk about.
Well, I wanted to keep it, hand in hand with my new articles. So I'll plug the article. Go ahead and check it out now on the Club Fantasy website, where you could break it down in full detail on why I believe in Brandon Aiyuk this season and for many, many seasons to come, because he is an absolute dog. All right. So the reason why I want to talk about Brandon Aiyuk this year is because the uncertainty of him being with the 49ers this year and even his potential with another team. Do I think that he gets traded? Honestly, I don't believe so. Do I think that it's going to be both him and the team have to come together and realize that he's probably going to have to get paid a little bit more than he should in a Kyle Shanahan offense and not as much as Brandon Aiyuk probably should be worth? It's probably going to be some kind of situation of that. But whether that's him in a Kyle Shanahan offense and the 1,300 yards is going to be something very obtainable and very easy to do in that offense versus him getting 1,300 yards in another offense, it's going to be a lot harder for him to accomplish that. But with the talent that he has, it's more than likely obtainable. So I'm not worried about Brandon Aiyuk, whether he's in a 49ers jersey or whether he's somewhere else. I know that he's going to ball out this year. So I'm not as worried about a holdout as much as some people might, but when you know that this guy has finished as wide receiver 15, wide receiver 14 the year before that, wide receiver 16, it's a little bit of a discount, just a little bit, but you know where you're going to get. So I don't believe that Ricky Pearsall is going to come in here and just shake up this whole offense, even though he could be great. He could be great for a long time to come. But we know Brandon Aiyuk is great right now. So I'm not worried.
Ryan, looks like you had something you wanted to say.
A new offense would scare me a bit just because of how late everything is. I tend to agree that he's not going to go anywhere. And it's the 49ers system has shown us the third wide receiver means nothing. Tout Ricky Pearsall all you want. If Aiyuk and Debo are there, he's dust. It's just going to come down to if Aiyuk moves, where he ends up is going to matter to me because of how late we're getting into this. Once they start installing offenses, which they're doing now, it starts to become a worry. He knows this 49ers offense. I don't care how much camp he misses. He's not a guy with soft tissue issues. He knows the offense. He's young. It's not the same as like a T. Higgins situation where I was going to be extremely worried, or an Amari Cooper situation where I was going to be extremely worried if these guys missed camp. Aiyuk could sit out the whole fucking camp for all I care. If he's back in that 49er uniform, I agree with you. He's a top 20 wide receiver. It's just how high is his ceiling, and that's going to come down to, can Brock Purdy do what he did last year again? I'm not saying he can't. I was very high on Aiyuk. The longer he's holding out, the more I get worried because the tea leaves are screaming trade right now. It just doesn't make sense to see a trade right now.
Yeah,
so
there's no way San Francisco makes this trade. Like you can't do this because you're not really getting a championship winning piece in return, right? When you trade these types of wide receivers, you're getting back draft capital. And draft capital is not going to help San Francisco win a championship this year. So it doesn't make any.
Kind of. I mean, like, I like this trade. This is the only trade that I think that actually works out for the Niners for what their situation is, and it also helps out Brandon Aiyuk. And that's trading Brandon Aiyuk for Devontae Adams with some kind of pick compensation, because he can still be that one for many, many years to come in Las Vegas, get paid appropriately, get paid in an offense that's not Kyle Shanahan, and he probably will still hit that 1,300 yards because Devontae Adams is, he's able to do that at his age. Why couldn't you believe that Brandon Aiyuk could do that for many years to come too? So if you just kind of like swap those two at these points in their careers, I wouldn't see much drop off in Devontae Adams with the Niners. I think that it would be a great pick in fantasy, honestly. So that's the only trade that I think that actually would like work out.
I think that would be an awful trade for Devontae Adams because this is not a high volume target offense.
But he wants to win.
Hear me out.
And that's fine. That's fine. But find a season where Devontae Adams has over a 70% catch rate and 100 targets, because that's essentially what you're looking at with Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk gets his money by being efficient, because that is what Kyle Shanahan's offense is. It's the same thing that Mike McDaniel is running right now in Miami. It's yards after the catch. It's downfield targets. Devontae Adams, if he were to end up being swapped here for Brandon Aiyuk, which again, I don't think is going to happen, you're not going to throw him the football 150, 160 times.
Josh, I got to do this for the viewers. I'm going to break the fourth wall here. I'm going to let them know I'm nuts. Party of one, guys. Okay, guys and gals, I am absolutely bonkers. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit of my conspiracy board, my whiteboard up there. And so hear me out. Devontae Adams goes to the Niners. I'm not going to root against my Brock Purdy. That's my guy. But let's just say Brock Purdy doesn't have as great of a year, and he doesn't live up to this contract that he's getting paid. What if the Jets underperform and Aaron Rodgers links back up with Devontae Adams back home with the Niners, and they correct that mistake, and that's where he retires?
That's not
Pull Brett
correcting a
Favre
mistake. That's
instead of the
making
Vikings. It's
an
the
enormous
Niners,
mistake.
and we've been waiting for it this whole time.
You just added an extra step to Devontae Adams becoming a Jet. Like that, you just,
No,
you just added an
no.
extra step.
It makes more sense, and it makes sense on my benefit. So that's the most important
That is
part.
not your benefit. This Aaron
absolutely.
Rodgers is not better than Brock Purdy. Plain and simple.
Whoa.
Also-
We can have a lot of differences of opinion about Aaron Rodgers, but we cannot have a difference in opinion that this guy is
The
still
current
a
Aaron Rodgers.
four-time MVP.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful career he's had. Let's
We'll be talking lots about Aaron Rodgers later in this program. Stay tuned. Get your popcorn.
We're talking a lot of bad things about Aaron Rodgers in this upper right-hand quadrant.
From you, boo.
the whole right side, buddy.
Yeah.
From you.
75% of the show has nothing good to say about Aaron Rodgers. So
No.
that's what it's.
Sweet 25% is what we're gonna bank it on. And 25%, baby. 25%.
You know, Hoov, I thought you had a trip to Egypt you had to get to, but I appreciate you moving that around to make time for this show.
We can have a whole podcast about pyramids, my bad.
Because I know it was a last minute thing, and it wasn't like you knew about, this show for months because you're not employed or anything by the team, and you knew that the certain dates were set to be there for certain days, but you said, nah, Egypt. I appreciate you being here for that. Unlike the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers, who knew about his certain job that he needed to be there for that certain time. But, I understand Aaron Rodgers with his $108 million guaranteed from Green Bay in his last contract is really strapped for cash. So moving those flights around, the cancellation fees, oh my God, it would have bankrupted him. It would have
never
bankrupted
gotten
him.
turned down at work for time off and just called in. Come on. Come on. Let's be real. We're real people. We're real people. This is a real situation.
No.
Even at the highest level, baby.
We're real people. He thinks he's in a fucking simulation. So it's no.
We're all real people at the end of the day, baby.
Okay. Well, my 10 seconds on Brandon Aiyuk is he doesn't seem like the type of guy that is going to hold out and be happy about it. He's going to hold out and be a dick about it. So he's either getting his contract and playing or not getting his contract, and the Niners will be trading him for next to nothing because they didn't do it ahead of time. So, and I also worry that when he comes back, he just might not be game shape ready. So don't draft him. Just trade for him in week 4. Trade for him in week 4, and you'll get a much better deal on Brandon Aiyuk.
I was going to say, when Nick Bosa held out and he signed his deal last minute, he was pretty shit for the first half of the season.
I know. I drafted him.
Yeah.
And I dropped him because I didn't want him anymore.
Yeah.
And you want to know...
That's the thing. When you miss training camp, you miss getting into shape. It's less about
NFL speed.
Timing, learning the offenses.
Yes.
Like, NFL speed is just, it's different. Plain and
Yes.
The Niners had their faults. I will say that. At the
starts at the
start
top.
of the year, until Chase Young came there was a blatant, obvious hole on the defense for the Niners. Other than
Nick Bosa not wanting to sack white quarterbacks, that was a huge hole for them. Look at the stats.
Lord.
It is, guys. It's a glaring difference. He has a one sack. He has a 1 sack higher difference against black quarterbacks than he does white quarterbacks. I'm not saying the stat makes sense. I'm just saying that's a weird stat. That's all I'm saying. It's a weird stat. It's a weird stat.
Good Lord.
It is.
Incredible.
It is. It's a weird stat. That's all I'm saying. All right. Where are we? Brock Purdy? Sure. He's a quarterback 11 now, consensus in terms of redraft ADP, 12-team, 1 PPR. Josh, I know you don't like him. So I don't know where you're going with this because it's not like he's being overdrafted.
It's less about me not liking him. I'm very much of the mindset that he is a system quarterback. But you know what? If this
everyone's a system quarterback,
fucking matter. Exactly, everyone's a system quarterback. But
everyone,
all corners are
the thing that you can't dispute. He led the NFL touchdown percentage, yards per attempt, air yards per attempt, passer rating, and QBR last year. He was a damn good quarterback in 2023.
Yeah, when you look at the low pass attempts and he dropped 30 touchdowns, it's incredible.
He was 20th in pass attempts. 20th, and he put up those types of numbers. That is insanely efficient. Which, what happens when things are sky high? Where can they go? Down, right? That is the biggest worry here, because if he's going to have this kind of low passing volume, if these metrics start slipping, he becomes an outlier. And that QB12 isn't really safe, because at QB12, you're drafting him as your starter. He's one of these kind of the guys that are sort of grouped into this low QB1 range. There's tiers within this range, but you've got Dak, Jordan Love, even CJ Stroud, I think to a certain degree, Tua, Jared Goff, like these types of quarterbacks can all very easily end up as mid to low end QB1s on the season, right? But if things don't go their way, about half of them might end up as QB20. And that could very well be what we're looking at with Brock Purdy if this team takes a step back. Because here's a really interesting stat. In the last 10 years, every NFC team that has lost the Super Bowl, only one has actually won a playoff game.
Did we lose the Super Bowl or did the Chiefs win?
They still lost the Super Bowl. I don't care how you want to play it. You can reword it however you fucking want.
That's not the point.
The stat is the stat. They lost the Super Bowl.
Kyle Shanahan lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So my only concern, and I don't even know that it's a concern. I agree with everything Josh is saying. The thing is, though, if you're willing to wait on quarterback QB12, and you said, if he doesn't keep the consistency
at that point.
But what I find interesting, obviously, just looking at my own projections, QB 8 down to Brock Purdy as my QB 16 are separated by like 15 points. It's not that big a deal to me. And so then I went and looked at his last year numbers. If you take 6 touchdowns away from Brock Purdy and bring him to 25 touchdowns, he's still the QB 11. Now, obviously, last year was a weird season in that so many quarterbacks missed games last year. So calling him the 11 when you're going to get guys like Kyler Murray and Anthony Richardson back from last season is a little bit of misleading. But what I'm trying to get to here in a very long route is if you're willing to wait on quarterback, you kind of accept that you're going to get a quarterback who falls in that range. And the difference between QB20 and QB12, Josh, sounds terrible. It's not if everybody were to play every game. Obviously, Purdy had the minorly elevated injury risk last year because of what we saw, but he played 16 games last year. So I'm not worried about him from an injury standpoint. I think he's a 16 to 17 game quarterback. So even if he does drop 5, this is going to sound ridiculous, but even 10 touchdowns, he's still a viable starter at QB12. You might be better off streaming, but you're gambling a lot less with Purdy. You're playing the floor instead of the ceiling at that point.
Correct.
So, and the only thing that really worries me about him this year is like if Trent Williams actually holds out. If this thing goes into the season, is like that 3 games when he was injured last year, you saw that dip in production, and like that's obviously why we ended up losing that stretch. So it really comes down to Trent Williams for me on how much I'm targeting Brock Purdy. Like point. I've said this since the start of the offseason that like how the quarterback rankings have fallen. It seems like every single like quarterback value, you know what you're going to get out of that and like the difference. And I really can't hate the rankings. So like if you go after Brock Purdy, but you also like want to wait 2 picks for Jaden Daniels, I can't hate that. Like I can't hate that at all. Just kind of seeing that everyone in that stretch, even Justin Herbert, like if everyone wants to hate on Justin Herbert, but like there's definitely just as much upside with someone like Justin Herbert potentially finishing as QB. It's like 13, whatever, just outside there, so there's so much reason to like be willing to wait on a quarterback. And also like, if you really are in on Brock Purdy, it's not a bad pick there.
Purdy's in this weird no man's land for me. Cause most of the time when I'm talking Purdy, I'm talking super flex. He goes too early for me in super flex. And what I mean by that is I would want him as my QB2, but most people are still taking him as their QB1 or just a little bit too early. I've already grabbed my QB1. I'm not quite ready to grab my QB2 yet. And then Purdy goes before me. So I don't think I have I think I have 0 shares of Brock Purdy in any league.
I have 1 share, and it's in our Ballers and Friends league because I got him in the Kyler trade.
Ah, that's right.
So I traded Kyler for Purdy in a 1. So like I'll take that value in Dynasty.
Like him and Daniels are the last 2 guys that like in a super flex league, if I want to like really wait on a quarterback first round, those are the 2 guys I'm targeting. So like I understand why Brock Purdy's ADP is where it's at because of sickos like me that wanted to wait. But
to be fair though, and I'm going to regret saying this, Hoov, your boy Aaron Rodgers is a reason I wouldn't touch Purdy because Aaron Rodgers is going like 5 rounds later. And I'm like, fuck it. I'll just roll with this guy who I know his job is safe. And so as much as I hate it, Aaron Rodgers is the reason I won't draft Brock Purdy.
It's because you know that he's going to be good.
It's fair.
You know he's going to be good.
I'm thinking back to my best ball drafts because I treat best ball. Obviously, you're leaving with 2 or 3 quarterbacks, and thinking back, and I'm like, every time I would see Brock Purdy, I would look and see Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield with 5 round later ADP, and I'm like, nah, fam, I'll just wait. So.
That's right.
So I will do a little would you rather, and I see Ramin, I see your question. I'll get to that in a sec, I promise you, because it's a good one. Brock Purdy's currently 11 in terms of consensus, ADP, redraft.
It's going to be so weird.
It is going to be weird. Kyler Murray's 10. I don't need an explanation. I just want to know who. Hoov, Kyler Murray or Brock Purdy?
And you said just like general superflex?
No, 1 QB.
1 QB.
1 QB, it's a PPR, which obviously doesn't matter for quarterbacks, but this should not be a debate.
Stop. It's the injury risk. It's the injury risk.
This should not be
versus a solid quarterback, like Brian alluded to, 16, 17 games. You're going to get out of it.
Should it be a debate?
Why is that a debate? Like, why isn't that a debate?
It shouldn't be a debate.
Would you rather have Kyler Murray or Jared Goff?
Kyler Murray.
Is it close?
It's Jared Goff for me.
No, it's not close for me.
I don't know. I think I like the safe floor. I like that.
Joe, wait a second. Scampers points out.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies, Scampers. Yeah.
Game that
so, who, if you've never played Would You Rather? So, Would You Rather is a game where I present you the player in question. Right now, Brock Purdy. And then I present you other players in question. For example, like in this last exercise, Kyler Murray. And what happens is I need you to tell me which one. I don't need some long-winded fucking answer or question back to me. I need you to answer one or the other, and that's it.
Fine.
That's all I need.
I'd rather wait and take Purdy.
Kyler.
Okay. All right. Fair. Ryan.
Kyler.
Josh.
Murray for the upside.
Okay. Ryan already said Goff over Purdy. Or I'm sorry, Goff over Murray. Would you do
Goff over both? Yeah.
Okay. Hoov, Goff or Purdy?
I would rather have Purdy.
Okay. Josh.
This year, Goff.
Okay. I'm indifferent. I wouldn't draft either of them for the purposes of the exercise. Goff because I wouldn't. I hate both of them. Tua or Brock Purdy? Hoov.
Purdy. That's very easy.
That one I can agree with you on. Ryan.
They are the same person. First of all,
one's right-handed, one's left-handed.
Wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the guy who has Tyreek Hill. Give me Tua Tagovailoa.
Josh.
Purdy.
Purdy knows what a third read looks like and how to get there. Brock Purdy. Caleb Williams or Brock Purdy? Hoov.
This year, Brock Purdy. Dynasty, Caleb Williams in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Ryan.
Caleb Williams. You're just proving how much I hate Brock Purdy.
Josh.
Purdy.
If it wasn't Shane Waldron, I'd be all on that.
That offense.
I don't like Caleb Williams. I'm on record saying that for a long time now. So I'd probably go Purdy in this instance. And then I will end it with, because he is creeping up draft boards, Justin Herbert or Brock Purdy. Hoov.
That's Brock Purdy.
Ryan.
I've been all over the place on Herbert. They are next to each other in my rankings, literally at the same point level, separated by less than a point, but I'm going Justin Herbert.
Okay, Josh.
I, too, have them back-to-back, but I have Herbert with a higher points per game, so give me Justin Herbert.
I would rather Purdy in this instance. I am on the fuck Jim Harbaugh train.
I just can't believe that.
So,
yeah, that's true.
Why? Okay.
Why? I don't know. Hoov. Let's look at his fucking history. You want to break it down?
Joe is a perpetual hater.
Who cares? That's your history.
Remember those 8 straight years before Ryan Day became the head coach at Ohio State, where Jim Harbaugh couldn't do his one fucking job and beat Ohio State, and then Ryan Day came in and said, "Whoop-de-doo, I'll give you 4 straight wins." Remember that? Remember that time?
You an Ohio State fan by chance?
No, I'm not. I could care less. But I asked Michigan fans, would you rather beat Ohio State once and go 1-10, or would you rather go 10-1 and lose to Ohio State? They say 1-10 every year. And you know what Jim Harbaugh couldn't do? He couldn't go 1-10. He went 10-1. Notre Dame never gonna fucking win. You want to know why? It's Notre Dame. They just choke. Notre Dame's never gonna win. Michigan is a pile of shit, and so is Jim Harbaugh. He can't win. He can't win.
Success.
Oh, he's a Patriots fan. He doesn't hate success.
I don't hate success
He
in the
thrives
slightest.
off of it.
I don't hate.
Then you should like cheaters. You really should. You should like cheaters.
I have
If you
lived
like-
and
if you-
breathed success.
Winners that cheat. That's literally Michigan boy Tom
Hey.
Brady that delivered you all those
That's right.
championships. You
Hoov,
should be
listen.
hand
Listen.
in hand. my
Maybe
boy.
if
He's out of
Kyle
control.
Shanahan just cheated a little more, maybe
All
he
right, all
could.
right, all
We could have won a
right.
couple.
All
I'm just
right.
saying.
Let's
I'm
pull
just
the
saying.
daggers out, guys. Come
Right.
on. Let's
Look, it's not my fault that I call 70% pass plays when I'm up 10 plus points in the Super Bowl. That's not my fault. That's simply just another average looking white dude where his dad got him his job. That's all I'm saying. And
let's talk about the important things. Okay.
yeah, George Kittle. So Ryan, I want you to talk about George Kittle for 30 seconds.
I'll say we've been on this for way too long. It's actually pretty easy for me. I thought there was a discount for Deebo Samuel early on in the offseason for best ball drafts. The Aiyuk uncertainty had not really reflected in Deebo Samuel's ADP. It has since caught up. Deebo Samuel is working his way into second round of many drafts. That is now moving its way on to George Kittle. He's going off as tight end 7. That's about where I have him ranked, but I was just looking at my rankings. He's the only top 10 tight end that I don't currently have at 100 targets. If Aiyuk is gone, George Kittle could fucking feast this year. So George Kittle right now is the Brandon Aiyuk discount.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm with you, Ryan. He's the only tight end in the top 10 that I have without 100 targets, and I have an 89.
Beauty.
All
right.
I'm not gonna debate that. That's smart football. Listen to the guys.
Yeah.
Best tight end in the NFL, George Kittle.
I don't even
Not
argue
gonna
with you
dispute
guys on
that
that
either.
anymore. Just not the best fantasy tight end.
Yeah, he's not the best fantasy. He's the best tight end, not the best fantasy tight end.
Best blocking tight end, 100%.
There you go.
Exactly. Who? Imagine doing half your job and people telling you you're the best.
Works out.
Could-
Hey, worked out real fucking well for my guys.
Does it? Does it?
Yeah.
Because
Pretty sure he's paid, has plenty of Super Bowl rings, and is dating Taylor fucking Swift. I
Yeah,
think he's
but
on
like,
easy street at this point.
yeah,
He's a
but like,
podcaster, man.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he could quit football and make as much money off of his goddamn radio shows.
and his Pfizer ads too. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that'll
true.
help him. Top 3 favorite best bets. Who have you got? San Francisco to score 1+ receiving touchdown in each of the 17 games. That's plus 800. Josh, you have Brock Purdy for the most regular season passing yards at plus 2,500. Sure. I will tell you the same thing I told you 3 weeks ago. Go spend $10 on a Big Mac and throw it out the window because that's a better use of your fucking money than betting that right there.
He was
And-
4th last year. I don't see why it's so asinine.
Yeah, and he's the same guy as Tua Tagovailoa, who
Exactly. And he led the league in passing yards. Granted, I'm not saying this is a bet that I would take, but I am saying that I think that it is entirely possible, and these are insanely good odds.
Yeah. All right. We'll see.
Hater.
Yeah, sure. Ryan, you have them as the best regular season record at plus 750.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not? That feels weirdly good at plus
I threw
$750.
I threw $5 on it.
Yeah, fuck it, we ball. All right, into Ramina. The question. Kyren, Etienne, AJ Brown, Kenneth Walker, if you draft 11th and you're basically getting back-to-back picks there. I will assume this is PPR. I'm just going to assume it's PPR and a single quarterback. I can't imagine Kyren Williams is available. I figure there's better running backs available at 11 in a super flex, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
So, Hoov, I will start with you. Who would you take? And assume you're probably getting this next person at 2-2.
I guess really depending on the format for me, I think AJ Brown has to be the pick here. I'm really hoping Etienne falls back to me in the second round. Rather have Etienne over Kyren this year. But AJ Brown, we know how Wonder Boy is, and whether he was with the Chargers, whether he was with the Cowboys, there's really been like one prominent receiver coming out of Kellen Moore's offense. So I feel like that's got to be AJ Brown. AJ Brown's a dog. If anyone could prove that wrong, it could be Devonta Smith with how talented he is. So I'm not going to knock Devonta Smith too much, but from history, I just want to go with AJ Brown and I believe that Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown could have another huge season together in fantasy like 2 years ago. And Travis Etienne, for me, like I'm not super worried about Blake for him. I'm worried just enough in the sense where if I have Travis Etienne versus Kyren Williams, I think I'd just rather would have Travis Etienne. He's borderline RB5 for a reason. And like we were comparing on Trade Block, Travis Etienne versus Jonathan Taylor, because they're very, very close in ADP. And I said, would you be more worried about Jonathan Taylor losing carries from Anthony Richardson, or would you be more worried about Travis Etienne losing carries from whoever else is there? You know, Trevor Lawrence running the ball. You know, no one is taking away rushing carries in Jacksonville other than Etienne. So those are my two guys.
Ryan.
Nothing to add. My exact answer. Take AJ Brown because there are 3 running backs. So if you like all 3 of them, one's going to fall. And if you're a praying man, I pray it's Travis Etienne.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm just wondering why Kenneth Walker is even in the same stratosphere as these 3.
Yeah, I don't think his ADP puts him there, does he? I think you could wait a whole
I guess it might depend on the site that you're drafting on, but
that's fair.
I mean, I have Ken Walker all the way down as RB21.
I will say, yeah, I'm drafting
at 7. So
I'm drafting on NFFC for the first time, and like the values that I've been getting on other sites, namely James Cook, was ranked so fucking high on their website, it just took the value away. He moved up so far. So,
Really?
Yeah,
site matters.
I much prefer Etienne to Kyren, but definitely fine with either of them. But the short answer is at pick 11, you're getting AJ Brown.
Well, I'm going to be the odd little duckling.
I saw the look on your face, Joe. So
and you're going to take Kyren and Etienne.
Well, he's going to double up
wide
right
receivers.
Yep.
Nope. I'm going to take Etienne, and I think the hate on Kenneth Walker is unwarranted. So I'm going to take Etienne and Walker because you're going to be drafting 311. So you're going to have to wait a good little bit for your next picks. And also,
with all the wide receivers that go, you can probably get Kenneth Walker at 311. That's the point I'm getting at.
Sure.
That's interesting.
That's fine. That's fine. But you could also, just chill with the guy who has the 7th AAV in terms of receivers, DJ Moore. How about double up and just get Cooper Kupp and DJ Moore as your 1 and 2?
I was going to say, the wide receiver value later on in the draft does warrant taking running backs early, but I also think AJ Brown is such a step ahead. I mean, even maybe not DJ Moore. He's a mild step ahead of DJ Moore, but he's still a pretty big step ahead of Cooper Kupp, at least in my opinion right now.
Etienne and Kenneth. Thank me later. I also will say, I think there's probably better running backs ahead of Kenneth Walker available in between the Etienne and Kenneth. So I would like to know the other running backs in that mix because I'm probably taking somebody else other than Kenneth Walker.
Because another name I want to throw out that it's getting dicey with him making it to 11, but if you're Jahmyr Gibbs, if he's there at 11, smash that. And that's getting dicey with him at 11 right now. So
go ahead, Hoov.
My thing about DJ Moore is like waiting for DJ Moore is, even though I had a lot of DJ Moore shares last year and he helped me in a lot of leagues, the value of where DJ Moore came from was obviously like based on his ADP and what he did at his ADP. Like this year, like DJ Moore, you're pretty much not drafting at his ceiling, but that's pretty much accurate on where I think you're going to get him. And so like last year, if you knew that DJ Moore was going to pop off, and so you waited and got him as your wide receiver 1, I feel like your team was not as good as another team. How far did you go?
I won the championship.
All right, I put my foot in my mouth right there. But in most cases, depending on where people drafted, depending on what wide receivers that they targeted early, like DJ Moore in a lot of cases wasn't that wide receiver 1. Like if you went Amon-Ra and then got DJ Moore as your wide receiver 2, like that's wide receiver 3, wide receiver 6 right there. That's where you're like waiting on that guy. So like I could see AJ Brown being like the wide receiver 3 this year overall in the first round is at 11. And then you draft Etienne to be your RB1. And then you wait another round and get someone like DJ Moore. And he easily could finish like, I think my comp is last year's DK Metcalf. So he finishes like, I think it was wide receiver 20. I want to say he finished.
Well, Moore's going as wide receiver 22.
That's what I was going to say. I think you may have a misjudgment on where Moore's ADP is.
It was
right
roughly
now.
around where he was
still
last
dirt
year,
cheap.
too. Yeah.
It's still dirt cheap. That's the thing. Like I have him as my wide receiver 11, I believe. So like that's still an insane value when you're looking at
maybe I'm just calling him more than I should.
I say people are afraid of Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, and I think that's a mistake.
Yeah. And I think that's really what's depressing his ADP is that, he's fighting with a guy that had a career high in receptions last year with 108. but also is 32 years old, and then a rookie that was drafted 9th overall and a rookie quarterback. Like, there's a lot of factors there that I think.
Should the light be worried about the dark?
Yeah, okay.
Should Yang be worried about Yang? They
I
go together. Should Christian Kirk be worried about Brian Thomas Jr.? Should
Not even a
DK
little
Metcalf
bit.
be worried about
Not even a
JSN?
little bit.
Not even a little bit. The JSN one, maybe, but it's more so like Tyler Lockett's going to get phased out. Christian, no one will touch Christian Kirk. That is my king. No one will touch him. But also, if you're picking 111, the current 111 right now overall is Saquon Barkley. So
Smash that.
I'd rather have Barkley over all of those guys.
100%. So that's what I'm saying is I think you can get a guy. Gibbs is 110. I think you can get Gibbs, Barkley, or Taylor there at the 111. Wrap and get Etienne, and then still get a wide receiver one at the end of the 3rd round.
Let me be clear. If Barkley or Gibbs are there, this is 0 question for me. I'm taking them first. I'm going to lose A.J. Brown to the guy at the turn, which is fine with me. Taking Etienne at 202, and I am laughing to the fantasy championship.
I could
And
see
you're
this being
still
a
getting
1
wide receiver
QB.
one.
I could see this being a 1 QB. If it's 11 and that's who's around there, that doesn't surprise me if it's a 1 QB and people are just waiting until like the 3rd round to go.
Yeah, we're just talking about the ADP. So.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Middle America, the champions. We will end with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champs, 11-6, same coach, same offense. Matt Nagy is the OC. He ain't calling plays. That's all Andy Reid. Matt Nagy is simply there as eye candy, such as Eric Bieniemy was for all those years as well. Remember when everybody was angry Eric Bieniemy wasn't getting head coaching calls, and now he wasn't even in this last circuit? Maybe, just maybe, it's because he wasn't good. Just a thought. Just a thought. Projected starting offense, Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback 3, and Carson Wentz, who in a social media video almost broke his ankle walking into practice, is the backup. That's not a joke. Go look at it. He slipped on the turf walking down the cement and almost fully twisted his ankle. That's not a joke. Classic Carson Wentz. Isiah Pacheco, RB1 at RB10.
This is every night, Hoov.
Yeah.
CEH, RB63. Fall from grace. Ryan's forever prince, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I've officially moved the new prince, generic prince.
I was about to say, who could be supplanted by generic prince, RB66.
I am officially done with Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Wow.
I've washed myself up.
Wait for week 5 when CEH has 2 receiving touchdowns and Ryan's shoots him right up to the top of the waiver wire.
I didn't cut him on any team that I have.
He's just on the taxi squad.
I'm just done with him.
Oh, okay. The receiver room, weirdly busy in terms of ADP.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, 32, 37, and 38 respectively. And then the dog, 19th overall draft pick, punt returner, Kadarius Toney's the wide receiver 4, at wide receiver 100, and Mecole Hardman, wide receiver 130. Travis Kelce, obviously the tight end 1 at tight end 2. Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, 43 and 44 respectively. We'll start in the backfield with Isiah Pacheco, the earth stomper himself. I don't really know what to think about Isiah Pacheco because I think if he was on any other team, he would just suck. So who can maybe pitch me on Isiah Pacheco or tell me why he sucks and make me feel better about myself?
I don't know. I mean, that there's some guys in the NFL that when you look at, it's like they're not like super high profile and they just don't like take your eye towards the screen. But to me, I mean, I like those hard hits. So like I'm an Isiah Pacheco guy and I like that deep hits right up the middle. So that's why I get drawn to that kind of stuff. But in reality, it's never it's not always the high profile guys. It's not always these first round, second round running backs that end up being like Hall of Fame caliber. And when you look at someone like Isiah Pacheco with the trajectory that he's going in his career and with the team that he's on, there's no reason to believe that, like I'm a generic Prince guy. I drafted him in Scott Fishbowl and got that late value. I also picked him up in like 2 weeks before he got those RB2 snaps at camp in a deep deep dynasty league as well. So I was jumping on that beforehand. And so I'm not worried, but I want that reassurance anyways. And so like we've seen it with the history of the Chiefs is that they've basically run a guy for a long time until he's not, and they bring someone in, and there's no reason to believe that Isiah Pacheco is going to fall off anytime soon. So like I was alluding to earlier is that there's just guys that they might not be high profile, but they just get the job done and they can be trusted by the coaches. And Isiah Pacheco in an Andy Reid offense being that guy that he's just hard hitting, gets the job done, gets those yards you're asking for, and is a major contributor to a Super Bowl caliber team. Like, I don't know why anyone would be fading Isiah Pacheco, in my opinion.
Ryan?
And if without Jerick McKinnon, he maybe has to play more snaps this year. If they're not going to trust Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I can't imagine unless Eric Prince shows some crazy shit during the preseason that they're going to put him out there to protect Patrick Mahomes, we could see more of Pacheco this year. I'm with you, Joe. He's just kind of vanilla to me. Again, we've talked about this with somebody on the 49ers, Brock Purdy. He's the Brock Purdy of running backs, I guess. Whenever he's on the board, I switch the position. I go and look at wide receivers, or is it time to take my first tight end? He just doesn't do it for me. And I know Liz Loza last week was all about him. So Hoov is definitely on the correct side of this argument, because if Liz is on the opposite side of me, that's the side you want to be on.
So he sits at RB10. I don't like the guys going around him. I think I would just rather have. There's one exception, but we're going to would you rather again. Would you rather Travis Etienne or Isiah Pacheco? Hoov?
Etienne.
Ryan?
Etienne by far.
Josh?
Etienne.
That's not even close. Derrick Henry or Isiah Pacheco? Hoov?
Isiah Pacheco.
Ryan?
Henry.
Josh?
I was going to say, I do have Pacheco ranked higher, but I would definitely draft Derrick Henry over Isiah Pacheco.
If you sat there and you saw those two on the board,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
It's
I'm
Derrick Henry.
going to draft Derrick Henry. The biggest reason I have Henry lower is because I'm just not 100% convinced that he's going to see a decent amount of receptions. And I think that Isiah Pacheco can.
Well, and that could push Pacheco to a whole new height, because, as I said, they don't have Jerick McKinnon there, and they're clearly not going to trust CEH. So
No.
I like CEH more than I probably should admit.
Oh,
but
believe me,
I
as
am a
someone who's
lot
been
more
there.
worried about Keaton Mitchell than I am about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, even last year I made a bet before the season starts. I picked everyone's darling, everyone's sweetheart, Kendra Miller, and I said CEH is going to outscore Kendra Miller, and he did. I mean, unfortunately, due to injuries, but he did, and that's probably exactly what's going to happen this year as well. CEH could possibly outscore him, but I'm more worried about Keaton Mitchell, like that speed and that explosivity in that backfield that's just as deadly as anything else that they have going for him, whether that's Zay Flowers, Lamar, Derrick Henry. So I'm a little more worried about that. And like as big as I am on Deneric Prince, like I love Rasheen Ali too. I mean, he's a bullet too. So there's so many reasons why I could be like more out on Derrick Henry. You know what you're gonna get out of Derrick Henry, but I'm kind of bullish on Pacheco this year.
Pacheco or Devon Achane? Hoov?
I would take Pacheco pretty easily.
Ryan?
It's crazy how much this ADP is lining up with my rankings, and I have not compared it yet. I would actually go Pacheco here. I have cooled tremendously on Etienne.
Josh?
If I'm in a position to draft Pacheco, I'm going to draft Etienne because of upside, plain and simple.
That's not a bad take. I can't argue with that at all.
Yeah, I have Pacheco like 7 spots higher than Etienne, but what Etienne brings to the table, give me that upside.
I'm just a safe boy. I'm kind of.
I'm with you on this one.
Yeah,
I like the consistency of Pacheco.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but it's the same thing. If I see if I hate everyone else in the draft board and it's those two, I'm probably taking Etienne. Isiah Pacheco or Josh Jacobs? Hoov?
That's closer. I've kind of faded Josh Jacobs recently, so I'd go Pacheco as well.
Ryan?
There was Josh Jacobs coach speak, so he shot up my rankings. Josh Jacobs.
Of course there was. Josh?
This is Josh Jacobs very easily for me.
I do like Josh Jacobs as well. I really think that, I do think Marshawn Lloyd cuts into his stuff a little bit. later on in the season. So like this is a go pair him with Marshawn Lloyd and trade Josh Jacobs in like week 5, in my opinion, and like
Coach
get
also
good
spoke
value
with
for
AJ
him.
Dillon. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think I'll fade AJ Dillon. I think
if it's a quad contest, AJ Dillon's the pick.
listen,
Such confidence. I think I'm gonna fade AJ Dillon.
extreme confidence, actually, so extreme confidence, and I'm just gonna. They're obviously these guys are 2 full rounds apart, but let's just say you're drafting your RB2. You took a running back in the first round. You took Bijan, Jameer, whoever you want. You took a running back in the first round, not named McCaffrey. Would you rather take receivers in the second and third and wait to get Kamara, or would you take Isiah Pacheco as your second running back? Hoov.
I would wait and take Kamara.
Ryan.
Same thing. I have them so close to one another, it makes sense to wait on the value at Kamara. So
Josh.
Yeah, Kamara, easily.
You thought you were gonna trap me. I see you, Jay. But I see right through it.
I always, the last one I always do, every guest comes on and they say, I didn't think you were gonna fucking ask that one. That's always what they say. That's why Would You Rather is a great game. Because
that's why we invented it.
Yeah, it's why we invented it. Because I think notorious Alvin Kamara hater. And his stats prove it. He can't run between the tackles.
I was going to say, you have been so positive on Kamara this entire preseason.
Ryan, because where was he being drafted in previous years, obviously prior to last year?
I was going to say, so, hey, you're coming into my world. I don't hate players. I hate ADP.
No, let me be real. I hate Alvin Kamara in between the tackles. I don't think he's good in between the tackles, and there's stats that prove that. He has a below 4 yards per carry average over the last 3 years. That's not a coincidence. But Kendre Miller's now going to be there. And
yeah, but he's in the doghouse already. You kidding me?
Already.
I just need somebody to take carries in between.
The way they're talking about
tackles.
Taysom Hill, I'm about to shoot him up my rankings because he's about to have 100 carries.
That's fine. That's fine. Can I get somebody not named Alvin Kamara in between the tackles, and then Kamara can run off tackle and get catches? That's all I need. Because Kamara, the reason I bring him is Kamara at RB16 at the end of the 4th round is insane.
That's robbery.
That's insane, which is why I bring that up.
Easily have 100 targets.
Was that on Alvin Kamara, or was that on their extreme need of a tackle?
Oh, they need more than just one tackle, though.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The interior of their line is pretty bad.
Yeah, Ryan's out again this year. Yeah, Ryan's out this year, so there's reasonably that he's going to struggle again between the tackles, but you also know his upside, too.
Could give him Trent Williams, he'd still struggle in between the tackles. He's just not built. He's not built like that guy. He's not built like that, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
Just don't use him that way.
Yeah, just don't use him that way. That's it. Why did it work so well with Mark Ingram? Because they didn't use him that way. They used him off tackle and they used him in the passing game.
Sure.
That's my hope for him this year, because I think that's what's going to happen. And I think where he's being drafted 16, comparative to like RB4 2 years ago, that was a little much. So I'm chilling here. Let's move on to Rashee Rice. Josh, what's going to happen with Rashee? Is he getting suspended? Is he not? As someone who has him on his dynasty team, I'm hoping not. But what is the deal with Rashee Rice? Have you contacted the Dallas Police Department and called them specifically to check in on Rashee Rice, like we know previous fantasy football analysts have done in the past, to check in on their favorite local police department, to check in and make sure that that guy is for real and that he's okay in that police department? Did that just pop into my head right now? Yes. Is it a top-tier joke? Yes. Is Rashee Rice playing
that
week
will
1?
always be a top-tier joke in the fantasy industry.
Is Rashee Rice making an appearance week 1? Meh. What's he doing?
Honestly, I don't know, and I don't really care to know, because this exact same situation played out with Alvin Kamara this year, and that's why you were able to get, or last year, that's why you were able to get Kamara in the 9th round, and look what he did. From the moment he stepped on that field, I believe he was the RB3 in fantasy football because of the amount of receptions that he had over 14 games. What I do know is that Patrick Mahomes has zero issue throwing to Rashee Rice. He had 102 targets as a rookie last year. Those are the types of things you want to see from a rookie, especially from a high-end quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. He had a 77.5% catch rate. That is bonkers for a rookie. Absolute bonkers. Again, I don't care about the legal issue. What I do care is when Rashee Rice was officially the starter after week 7 last year, he was the wide receiver 17 in fantasy. He had 15.5 fantasy points per game. The competition here is Hollywood Brown. Hang on.
I just want to ask. Where did he go to school? Real quick. Where did Rashee
baby?
SMU, baby. Wide receiver university.
Baby.
Continue.
Yeah. Hollywood Brown has never had a fantasy season end with a higher points per game than 14.1. That already tells you that Rashee Rice is better for this offense than Hollywood Brown can be. Hollywood Brown is slated to play the Marquez Valdez-Scantling role. He is going to stretch the defense. That is what his speed allows him to do. Rashee Rice has 5 inches and 23 pounds on Hollywood Brown. You think he's really going to be a wide receiver 1? No, not going to happen.
5 inches is
Give
huge.
me all the Rashee Rice at wide receiver 37 prices, and I can get a top 20 wide receiver potentially. Give me that all day.
5 inches is huge. That's almost like a foot. Go ahead, Hoov.
Yeah.
There's 2 analysts that I want to quote and give them credit for these takes because they made really good points and it's been ingrained into my head and it will never leave now. And a while ago, Jagger May, he ended up saying that Rashee Rice just plays the most Patrick Mahomes style football.
Yeah,
and
that's such
to go off of Josh Hudson.
Like a receiver.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, is like when
unlike
you know
anything
and
he's
then
had
to go
throughout his
off of-
NFL career.
And then
Outside
the second point is recently Herms he brought up the point too, and he said that this feels almost similar to when Julian Edelman had his suspension, and then he had that dip in ADP, and everyone capitalized on it. And once he came back, he just shredded and won so many leagues. That just feels like Rashee Rice's like dip in like price, but he's not having a suspension. Like he's going to be ready day one. So if you're getting Patrick Mahomes wide receiver 1 that plays the most his style, and you know that that's going to be like the wide receiver that he goes to the most often, sure, there's upside with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. They get a deep bomb. But if you're going off of like who you think is going to get the ball the most, it's the same reason why you're probably more in on Tank Dell in Houston. That's that you feel like he's just going to earn the most targets by having that connection. And I feel like Rashee Rice has that connection with Mahomes. So yeah, I couldn't be on Rashee Rice anymore, even though I did trade him recently for basically Adonai Mitchell in a 2nd-round pick.
Ouch.
I'm not going to add anything. I'm going to pop in the chat right now. Drew Davenport's tweet. He actually covered this just a few days ago. If you're not following Drew, he is a actual attorney who dives into all of the NFL legal stuff. Plus, if you play in auction or salary cap leagues, a terrific follow for that alone. But the long and short is, with the case being where it is right now, it's unlikely he's getting suspended in 2024. So it's to the moon with Rashee Rice. Don't worry about
Especially
this.
at that value. Unreal.
Big news for my dynasty team. That's massive.
There you go.
Yeah.
Big news right there.
Drew doesn't guarantee anything. He dives into it and he does a lot of work. He'll call attorneys from those states to figure out what they know about how the state will prosecute.
But Ryan, does he call the police department?
No, Drew knows what he's doing, plain and simple.
Okay.
And like I said, he's worth your follow first and foremost. And if you're going to be in the Canton area for the expo, as I know my boy Hoov is, they are also charity auctioning off 2 seats to the Football Guys expo kickoff tournament. You'll find all the details for that on Drew's site too. So again, I couldn't pump him up anymore. Drew Davenport FF on Twitter. Follow him.
Sponsor the show, Drew. We're giving you a lot of pub here.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think that's the most I've ever talked someone up.
I know. That's not on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. With him most likely playing all season, Ryan, how does that affect your love affair with Travis Kelce?
So again, I'll be the quick 30-second pitch. As the founder, the leader, the president of the Travis Kelce fan club, the draft value is no longer there, plain and simple. The other tight ends have caught up. Specifically, we are dealing with a top 5, if you believe me, a top 6 that are all roughly in the same tier. And the ADPs for these 6 players is so wildly different. Being the first guy to take Travis Kelce is probably not going to be your best bet this season. If he starts falling to the late 3rd, early 4th, you'll see him on more of my teams, but putting it bluntly, his ADP isn't going to get better. It's going to get worse. And what I mean by that is higher as we get into the seasonal drafters coming back. So I adore Travis Kelce. He is still in fantasy, my ranked tight end 1. I don't think the gap is there to warrant the ADP that is going to come with the Travis Kelce name.
I draft Travis Kelce when you can draft George Kittle.
Exactly. And George Kittle's but that's the thing though, is so Kittle's actually my 8. I have him 26 points behind Kelce as my rough projections right now. But the thing is, if Brandon Aiyuk isn't in San Francisco, that 26 points is made up very easily. And so again, I adore Travis Kelce. Don't take this wrong. I'm not giving up my spot on the bandwagon, but I will say my exposure this year will be greatly reduced.
Yeah, I have them about 80 points apart, Ryan.
Good Lord. I don't have my stuff set up for
the
full
fucking moon this year.
I say I don't have my stuff set up for full PPR. I'm guessing you do. I can do that real quick just for argument's sake.
But I mean, just from a points per game perspective, I have Kelce at 15.5 and Kittle at 10.7. Kittle always ends up doing better than what I project him at because injuries take place. And when I do my projections, I try not to bake in too much with injury risk, especially from position players, even though we all know it happens. But he's clear in a way the 4th target in this offense behind Debo, Aiyuk, and CMC. So it's just one of those things for me, like the target share is only going to be so high. But he also had a huge spike in yards per reception last year that he hasn't had in a while. So
I was going to say, it's not like he's never had it. That used to be his thing.
No, I understand. I mean, I have him at 13.1 yards per reception. It's not like I've shortchanged him by any means.
Are we talking about Kittle or Kelce at this point?
Kittle.
Okay, because I'm like...
Kelce, I have at 11.3 yards per reception.
Okay. But yeah,
he's actually the only tight end that I have projected to top 1,000 yards.
Full 49er arsenal, I would prefer Kelce over Kittle. Aiyuk leaves. Kittle's going to shoot up my rankings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Agreed.
Wrapping up the Chiefs with the favorite bets here. Hoov, you have Mahomes 40-plus receiving touchdowns in the regular season is how it's written here inside of the show sheet. That's crazy. That's plus 500 for him to have 40-plus receiving touchdowns.
That stat, though, the passing touchdowns.
I like where the money lies. Sometimes you just got to risk for the biscuit, and sometimes who knows? He's content with the money he's owed. Maybe he wants to switch it up a little bit and get paid more like a high-end wide receiver. So he wants to switch things up, go for 40 TDs.
Yeah, why not? Josh, you have Travis Kelce to have the most regular season receiving touchdowns. That includes receivers, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's everybody. Okay. That's why I said it's the tied for the 23rd highest odds. We've seen some massive spike touchdown seasons for Travis Kelce, and now they have legitimate weapons that I feel like can actually catch the football in Kansas City. So he's going to have a lot of free reign here, and I'm really excited to see the kind of season.
Yeah, plus 4,000. That's fun.
That's what I'm saying.
And Ryan to have Xavier Worthless has the most rookie receiving yards at plus 1,200.
If I can bet on the rookie receiver with Travis Kelce, I'll throw $5 on it.
Why not? Right? Plus 1,200. Why not? He honestly, with Mahomes as quarterback, that's pretty decent odds. So that's pretty good odds there. All right. We now wrap it up with the 2024 NFL season predictions. They have AFC winner predictions, NFC winner predictions, and of course, the Super Bowl winners. Who is being predicted? And Ryan also has his 6 favorites to win the division at some crazy fucking... is this a parlay that I'll talk about?
Josh said a playoff parlay, and I bet. So I have a method where I work on division winners, and these 6 teams in my 3 different methods all win their division. So these 6 teams as a parlay is fun to me. So.
Okay, we'll get to that at the end. All right. AFC winner predictions. Starting from the bottom, Ryan taking the easy bait with the Kansas City Chiefs.
I mean, anybody who watches this show knows I'm chalk, so you don't have to go too far. I'm a chalk kind of guy. So
plus 360. Josh, you have the Bengals at plus 700. Your dark horse pick is the Chargers at plus 2,200. And Hoov, you have the New York Jets at plus 1,100 that I know you wanted to talk about.
For the money, let's talk about it. I'm also going to put out I'm also going to put out a bet there, too, for Aaron Rodgers to be your season's MVP at the end of it.
Cute.
Okay, Mr. Sassy Pants. Well, let's talk about it
cute.
then.
That's cute. I think TJ Watt has a better chance of that happening than
You are
Aaron
ridiculous.
Rodgers.
We are talking about someone that easily, we talk about the Buffalo Bills last season. First half of the season, this is kind of what I'm expecting, is that they don't want to put too much on Josh Allen. And they realize at the second half of the year that that's the only way that they're going to be Buffalo Bills playoff contender is if they run everything through Josh Allen. I don't believe that they're going to be able to do that. I feel like the Bills are almost very similar to where the Packers were in Aaron Rodgers last season. There is after they traded Devontae Adams away, they invested in a young receiver in the second with Christian Watson, this year being Keon Coleman. And so I feel like this offense is going to be very different and that the Bills are going to regress. I mean, the Bills for a long time, they won their division by the highest point differential in wins. So you're seeing that the AFC East is up for grabs. I'm more optimistic about the Patriots than some people. I think that this defense is something that people shouldn't take for granted or take lightly. And that means that this offense could be on the field a lot more than other people might think. And so Drake May could actually be a little better than people think. That the Patriots could end up upsetting a few teams in this division, like the Dolphins.
I don't think Drake May is playing this year. So
even Jacoby Brissett, I could see that them upsetting a few teams like the Dolphins, or even the Bills and the Jets. I think that this is a hot team. And I don't think it's Robert Saleh making the calls. I think that a lot of it is Aaron Rodgers going through that offense. And people know that Garrett Wilson could easily finish as a top 5 wide receiver this year. And if the record falls and the AFC North is super competitive, the AFC West, they can just outbeat the Chiefs in wins, or even the South. Like, I think that if the Jets finishes the number 1 seed, Aaron Rodgers, or I think the last few years, whoever finishes the number 1 seed in the AFC has won MVP. So if they get that 1 seed, I could see Aaron Rodgers winning MVP, and I could even see him taking him to the Super Bowl.
The one thing I'll throw on for Hoov before we move on is I redid my defensive projections today as well, and the Jets are my number 1 or number 2 fantasy defense. That doesn't always equate to good defense, but they're a hell of a fucking defense, so it may not be all Aaron Rodgers that's asked to do it with you.
Right.
I just can't get behind an offense that's run by Nathaniel Hackett. So
that's fair too.
Yeah.
I'm okay fading that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, hear me out. All right, so we know that Burrow is more of the Mahomes kryptonite. So let's say Burrow and Mahomes match up early in the playoffs. Burrow takes out Mahomes. You look at the Bengals and the Jets, roster for roster, experience
Burrow's not
versus
losing to the
Burrow.
Jets. Burrow's not losing to the Jets. Sorry.
Well, here's the
I
thing.
make that
The
bet.
Jets are a
I'd
team
make that bet.
that could take Joe Burrow out of the game, and that's what they will need to have happen.
I'd make that bet. At
I
full
would not.
strength,
I think this is a moot point unless the Jets get Hassan Reddick under contract. So,
and Hassan Reddick could be that piece that either they get compensation for that adds that extra. Like you look at a team like the Rams, that when they went to the Super Bowl, they were not like the Super Bowl contender this whole year. I mean, there was hype around them with Matthew Stafford there, but Von Miller, I swear, is the guy that won them that Super Bowl. That trade that they made for him is the differential the second half of the year and going on to the playoffs. Like, if he comes back after this holdout or he gets traded for a piece that they can use, like that's Jets defense is just even better. So I'm not going to fade the Jets this year. I was more doubtful last year, but now I see them bringing in Mike Williams, who hopefully once he gets 100%, that he could be a great 2/3, and I'm really optimistic about Malachi Corley in this offense too. So I'm not sleeping on the Jets.
I think the Jets go 9-8 and lose in the first round or miss the playoffs because the AFC is so competitive.
Okay. All right.
See ya.
I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers is like 6th in MVP voting too. So I'm not alone in thinking that Aaron Rodgers could finish as the 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anything's possible. A meteor could hit the Earth right now. Anything's possible. Let me tell you, anything is possible. In the world of Aaron Rodgers, though, he does see the same guy that blew out his Achilles in week 1 on Monday Night Football. And again, on this show, we never wish injury upon anybody. But if it happened, I'm not saying I wouldn't laugh on my couch on Monday night. I'm not saying I wouldn't laugh. I'm just saying that it would be a comedic moment for the NFL community. All right? It would just be funny.
It'd be some weird level of karma.
I would sign out of Twitter because I would just not be able to handle what would happen.
All I know is if they're giving me the free 0.5
half
over
a yard,
passer, I'm taking the under this year. That's all I'm saying. I'm taking the under. I don't know what to say. I'm taking the under.
This is exactly why I am all in on Aaron Rodgers. Is that every person that hates on him, he fuels it up and he smokes it probably, but he fuels it up and he goes out there and he balls, dude. I'm not doubting him.
Dude, he fuels it up with that one Super Bowl appearance and one Super Bowl win. That man has fueled so many Green Bay Packer losing playoff runs.
That'll get you arrested in Egypt.
4-time MVP. One more.
Oh my
5
God,
MVPs. That's all right.
Five MVPs to that one Super Bowl looks really good right now. It looks really good. NFC winner predictions.
Can you say that have won 5 MVPs?
How many can you say have won one Super Bowl? Eli Manning has double the amount of Super Bowls as Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my gosh.
That's such a low-hanging
Joe
fruit
Flacco
take.
has the same amount of Super Bowls. Matt Stafford
has the same amount of Super Bowls.
Fucking Rex Grossman has the same amount of Super Bowl appearances. Like, what are we talking about here?
Low-hanging fruit.
He's overrated. Hoov, you have the Packers to win the NFC at plus 800. Aaron Rodgers sees his old team in the Super Bowl. Shocking. Josh, you have the Eagles at plus 700. Sure.
I don't even love it.
I don't either. I don't know why you'd pick them because Ryan picked the Eagles as well, so that's not going to happen.
I know.
Your
the
dark
NFC
horse
is just so top heavy. Like I feel like there's. I think the NFC North is just going to cannibalize each other because all those teams are really good right now. The Bears have taken a step up. The Packers have taken a step up.
I'm surprised
Maybe
no
the
one picked the
Vikings
Lions.
are a little out, but
I'm surprised no one picked the Lions.
I think the Eagles easily have the best offense in the NFC. And you drafted this defense to be good this year. This is what you've been building towards, and we just need to see it happen. So,
it's going to be interesting to me just with the coordinators and
how
Philly's
the best offense
sort of. In the NFC, I think you can make that.
Those two wide receivers, and now
in the East,
Saquon Barkley.
In the East, maybe.
I'll take the Eagles receivers over the 49ers receivers.
Yeah, but we're not talking about individually. We're talking about as an offense.
And
I bet you AJ Brown finishes higher than both Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. I'll give you that.
That's a lock.
But the massive difference between Devonta Smith and those guys, I could say that
I don't think it's that
you're
different.
easily getting like 2 top 20 versus one top 10 and probably like
you know that Devonta Smith has been a top 20 wide receiver in the last 2 years, right?
In this offense, Kellen Moore.
But I want Jalen Hurts. And I think Saquon Barkley closes the gap. I think we are discounting Saquon Barkley in this offense. I think
who makes better decisions, Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy?
I don't need good decisions. I need
who can throw the ball in the second half of the season, Brock Purdy or Jalen Hurts. That's my worry. Is Jalen Hurts looked to regress as a quarterback?
Well, the knee wasn't right last year, and I don't think anybody would dispute that. Okay. He's had a whole offseason to get the knee healthy.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
I am.
Clearly I'm not worried.
You am as one. And then Super Bowl winners. Hoov, you have the Packers beating. If you know what, I'll let you have that. If the Packers beat the Jets in the Super Bowl, that's kismet. That can happen. Yeah. That can happen.
You know what's so ironic about it is that if you look kinda, not exactly, but if you want to look at it artistically, you look at it like that's very similar to where the Packers were. When they won their Super Bowl, they won theirs prematurely. They beat a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger before that's making his second appearance in the Super Bowl, which would be Aaron Rodgers in this case.
Third.
Sorry, you're right, third. So another quarterback making his multiple appearances, hoping to get that second or third ring.
That would have been Ben's third.
Correct. Yeah. So third ring. So very kind of similar. Not very similar, kind of similar, but I think that there's irony to that, and Jordan Love putting him over the top.
Sure. Again, if Aaron Rodgers
I think
makes the
that
Super Bowl and
defense is the
loses to the
thing that-
Packers,
The
I'm here
defense
for
for the
it.
Packers is what's really sold me and what makes me think, or at least the defensive coordinator change. I think that that's the difference. That I saw a Packers team that, they crumbled in the second half versus the Niners, but I'm a lot more worried about the Packers this year than I am about the Lions, truthfully.
Fair.
I like the Packers defense. I just think they're incredibly inconsistent, especially in the secondary. Jair Alexander looks like Deion Sanders, or he looks like fucking Michael Davis, and there's no in between.
To the Packers' credit, Liz Loza last week brought up Detroit Lions have to play a first-place schedule, and that could take its bumps and bruises. So.
Correct. Josh, you have the Bengals to win plus 1,300 on DraftKings, and Ryan, you have the Eagles. So, just all
You put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, you just across the board. And Ryan's crazy playoff parlay, the 6 favorites to win their division. Listen up closely, kids. This is how you're going to waste your money. Detroit, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Miami, Kansas City, plus 5,450 on FanDuel. That is a parlay.
So I called 7 of 8 right with my method last year. What I look at is I look at total points scored and total yardage, and I look for teams that are the highest in their division for both categories for me to deem them a for sure division winner. So
7 out of 8. You know what it would have been? Miami. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be the Jets. Number 1 seed. That's
and that's fair because I only did 6. There are 2 divisions that I think are up in the air. Cleveland, Baltimore, Cincinnati, I think is up in the air, and then I really do think Houston and Jacksonville are up in the air. So
don't discredit Indy.
I think Indy was in the race for me as well.
Indy.
There, I don't remember
I'll discredit them.
So I'm so sick of the hater shit tonight. Honest to God,
I was gonna say
so much hate coming from Joe's little box in the corner. I don't get it.
Every week thing.
So much.
Would you like to know that their team leader in sacks last year just went down with a season-ending injury? So their defense got that much worse. Would you like to know that their starting quarterback has finished 1.5 games in the NFL? Would you like to know that the team is completely unproven?
Hold on, Joe.
The team almost made the playoffs with Gardner frickin' Minshew.
How do you finish half a game?
Exactly.
He finished 1 game, bro.
Exactly. 1.5 games. I said what I said. Makes my point better. He finished 1 game.
That's what I'm like. You can't finish a half game. They didn't. They didn't call the shit at halftime. This isn't the 2020 election.
You don't know. Maybe he came in the second half and he played. That team is wildly unproven, and we're hinging it all on a guy who we've all said can't throw the football.
There are other parts of that offense, though. A full rushing offense, if they can play good defense. I'm not going to sit here and shit on Indianapolis. I don't have the balls to gamble on Anthony Richardson that other people do. But when I look at what they could put up points-wise and what they could do controlling the clock, it's going to come down to their defense, and I don't hate their defense.
I don't like their defense.
I don't love them.
That secondary's not good. They have Kenny Moore in the slot, who is still like a consistent guy.
So
Zaire Franklin in the middle, and 1 defensive lineman in DeForest Buckner.
Hearing you hate on a secondary just kind of lost all of its.
I think Shane Steichen is the difference maker. I really do.
Yeah, he's actually a good coach.
He's a fantastic coach. I'll give you that. The fact that they were even in it at the end is a.
But I think you can mask
Steichen.
a below average to average defense by controlling the clock, and that's what his offense is set up to do.
So we're thinking it's going to be...
If Anthony Richardson plays 14 plus games, I want to preface.
I mean, keep in mind they're not my favorite.
Joe Flacco comes in, I think that's a completely different story. They're going to air it out.
They're going to throw it.
That's just what Joe Flacco does.
I think the offense puts up more points per game with Flacco at quarterback than A-Rich. And I'm not saying over a 17-game span, but Hoov, Look at what he did last year. Look at what he did last year.
I don't know.
Your boy Adonai Mitchell would have a much better chance of success this
Yeah,
year
he would.
with Joe Flacco
Josh
than
Downs
Anthony
would
Richardson.
have a lot higher.
The
of success with
receivers.
Joe Flacco.
The receivers.
Adonai
Joe
Mitchell
Flacco.
would be thriving under Anthony Richardson. He's
I
not
disagree.
dead, but Joe Flacco.
Adonai
but
Mitchell
we are
is
comparing-
barely going to thrive.
I love that we had two teams, and this is our longest.
We're talking about someone with elite upside versus Joe Flacco.
Exactly. It's upside. It's
Yeah.
unproven talent at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
He is. People want him to be Cam Newton, and he has all the tools to be. Here's the thing: he is 12% of Cam Newton right now. In that 12%,
I'm not asking you to be Cam Newton. I'm asking Anthony Richardson to be what I expect out of a rushing quarterback coming off of a season-ending injury. I expect them to heavily involve Jonathan Taylor. I expect them to try their best to get at least 10 games out of Anthony Richardson. And if he's on the field, the way that their offense is going to facilitate versus a Joe Flacco-led offense. I genuinely believe that even in
If all I'm
10
getting
games,
is 10 games out of Anthony Richardson, he ain't it.
I was about to say if the line starts with if I'm hoping to get 10 games out of my starting quarterbacks,
you said
that's
Adonai
not good.
Mitchell. You said Adonai Mitchell, and I said no. Adonai Mitchell is an Anthony Richardson guy. Josh Downs is a Joe Flacco guy.
Yeah, but you're hoping to get 10 games out of your starting quarterback.
The year back, if he gets banged up and they say, okay, I need to pull him. I need to ensure Anthony Richardson for the long haul. This is the same franchise that fucked up Andrew Luck. So they want to. So they are going to be extremely cautious with him. If he even looks a little banged up, they put in Joe Flacco. So I'm saying if they can get 10 games the first year back to ensure for the long haul, and even that offense with Shane Steichen running it, I still feel like that is going to be a wild card team, a playoff contender, because like that's a good solid team. Like, yeah, their leading rusher just went down, but Leatu Latu is their baby.
I do like him.
And he's an instant impact.
He played in the Pac-12, like with no defense. I
You're
don't know what.
hater,
Dude, he's so on some shit tonight. It's so on some hater stuff.
Star Lotalele, star defensive tackle, pass rusher out of the Pac-12, bust. There's so many guys in the Pac-12 that come in busts. Just complete bust on the defensive side of the football because they don't play defense in the Pac-12. Yeah, because it's the Pac-2 now because they all fucking suck. That is a notorious Pac-12 thing is they don't play defense. Same thing in the Big 12. That is a Big 12 thing. Notoriously, don't play defense.
Like all Alabama quarterbacks aren't good. Like all Ohio State quarterbacks aren't good. Like blah, blah, blah.
Congratulations, C.J. Stroud found the one fucking magic leaf in the entire jungle.
So we're going to discredit Leatu before he even plays his first game in the NFL because he plays Pac-12. Good Lord.
NC State has more successful quarterbacks in the NFL than Ohio State.
All right, Joe, end it. Jesus.
You end it. You have to end it.
Entertained. That's all that matters.
Yeah. This is entertaining.
On a positive note, Josh.
Aren't you supposed to end it, Josh?
My goodness. Positive note here. This is where we're at. All right. Next week, we're switching gears. We're going on a little bit later because the ladies are coming in and taking over. This is our 5th annual year of the WOFF podcast. We're doing our annual WOFF raffles to benefit the WOFF Galvanized Scholarship Fund, where we partnered with Laura Oakman and her organization Galvanized. We've got 8 different jerseys we're raffling off over 4 different weeks. We have 4 weeks full of guests. It's going to be 1 guest in week 1, 1 guest in week 4, 2 guests in weeks 2 and 3, and I could not be more excited about these guests. So next week, 7 p.m. Eastern, Faith and Kelly are going to be interviewing Gabby Gowdy from FanDuel Sports. Super excited about that. And the first round of raffles.
Pulled out of the dungeon.
The jerseys right here.
Nice.
We have a signed Jalen Waddle jersey. and a signed Garrett Wilson jersey.
Ooh.
So you can head over to womenoffantasyfootball.com. You can click on the icon that shows the picture of the graphics. It will take you over to the site where you can buy your raffle tickets. Each ticket is $5. It's literally all you have to spend, $5 for one chance to win either one of these jerseys. Just in the comments, let us know which jersey you want to put the ticket towards. Every single cent from the sale of your raffle tickets go towards the WOFF Galvanized Scholarship Fund. Last year, we raised just on the raffles alone over $3,300. We were able to provide scholarships to 4 different women over the 2 boot camps that Laura put together via Galvanize. One was with the Washington Commanders. The other was with the San Francisco 49ers. Super excited about this. Hopefully this year is going to be bigger and better. It's what we've strived to do with each of these events throughout the 5 years or the previous 4 years that we've done this. We'll have some different events that we'll be putting on over the next month to continue to put money into the scholarship fund. And the biggest of which is our partnership with Trophy Smack. So if you have been watching the show and you see the ticker here at the bottom, you can go to trophysmack.com/WOFF. Any and all, we'll say referral money that we earn based on you, the audience, using this referral code through the month of August, we will put that money earned into the WOFF Galvanized Scholarship Fund. So it's another way for us to continue to help women who want to pursue careers in sports. We'll have a couple other announcements with some other things that we're going to be doing here in the next couple of weeks. But we want to focus on the raffles and obviously our partnership with Trophy Smack here tonight. So as I mentioned, head to womenoffantasyfootball.com. All of the information for week 1 is on the website. I'll be putting out a tweet here from the WOFF page here shortly. But all the information, you can get it right now on Instagram as well. So feel free, check us out. We've got, like I said, 5 more guests after week 1. Not going to go too much into detail on the guests because I kind of like to keep that a little secret.
I don't even know who they are.
But like I said, all the information at womenoffantasyfootball.com. You can follow Twitter, Instagram, as well as YouTube at women_FF. And be sure to check out on Friday on Reddit. We are having an AMA with WOFF from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Both Faith and Kelly will be on there, as well as one of our newest contributors this year who also had a chance to represent WOFF at both the Super Bowl and the NFL Draft, Renee. And then a good friend of our show and site as well, Jen Eakins from 4for4 will also be joining the AMA. So be sure to check that out. If you use Reddit, subreddit, all that good stuff, we'll have a lot of cool content coming over there from Women of Fantasy Football as well.
And for you older folks in the crowd like Ryan, AMA is Ask Me Anything.
Oh, thank God. I was wondering when someone would explain that to me.
Well, look, I mean, we always have to explain the would you rather, so I figured Ask Me Anything was really just one that we had to get across. I mean, the gray in your beard really gives off, I don't use Reddit, I just post on Facebook. So
I don't post on Facebook, but I also don't use Reddit.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like
I post on Twitter, and
Yeah.
that is it. So.
Yeah. On
And I
the
watch-
Twitter.
And
It's
I
the
watch
Twitter to you.
Reels on Instagram. That's literally all I do.
Doesn't even have TikTok, folks. Soon enough, he's going to be on YouTube
I have
Shorts.
it. I just haven't used it in forever.
Oh,
I watch YouTube Shorts as well.
correct. Of course you do. Of course you. You want to know why? Because you're over the age of 26.
Yeah.
I love that. All right.
Oh, man.
We have a bunch of shows on
Oh my
our
God.
channel. Obviously, the main ones are going to be the next 4 Wednesdays, 7 p.m., where WOFF takes over on their 5th annual WOFF podcast. Some awesome guests ahead. And the same shows will still continue, correct, Josh, on other days? Every other show will continue for the most part?
We got Trade Block tomorrow night featuring Hoov, Dusty, and Joel Worth. We'll be looking at Rashad White, I believe, and taking all of your Dynasty trade questions. No Mock Girl Summer this week, but we've got Mock It Like It's Hot on Friday night with Ryan and Austin. Wendy will be guesting on
from
that.
Mock Girl Summer.
So there you go. We'll have a new episode of Summer School, which is our intro to Best Ball show Saturday morning at it's actually 11 a.m. Eastern. Myself and Joel Worth will be on Dynasty After Party on Sunday morning. Gator J and Chris Battistyle, Mocking with the Stars Monday night, and Masterclass, which is our high stakes best ball show with Gator J and Stacey Perez on Tuesday night. Also, keep tabs on the YouTube channel. If you have not liked, subscribe, all the videos that you happen to see, it is literally free for you guys to show support to us with a simple click of a button. That's it. If you want to turn off notifications, that's fine too, but then you miss all the good stuff that we've got putting out. Yeah. We have Austin and Matt that are doing a what we're calling like a sub-series of summer school called Cram Session, where they are breaking down each of the week 17 games from the NFL schedule to help you better utilize correlation as you build out your best ball lineups for all the best ball tournaments like the Best Ball Mania and Greyhound and all that good stuff over on Underdog.
Every subscriber brings us one subscriber closer to hitting that ad revenue to get Josh out of the shipping container he currently streams from and to give him a little bit of a better background than that white insane asylum he's been streaming from.
I just got to hang up some jerseys, man. It's all good.
That's what you've been saying, but I'm convinced you're in your little box in the insane asylum. That's what you keep saying, and the keepers
and
won't let you hang
does make
anything.
me crazy, so it is very believable.
Yeah, they won't let you hang anything. Oh boy! All right,
No
for
nails.
Josh,
No hooks.
yep, for Josh, Hoov, Ryan, myself, you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. For this month, make sure women of _FF. I'm getting that correctly. Make sure you follow them because this entire month of August, we raise all money, $3,300, like Josh said. Let's make it $4,000 and higher this year, people. We're trying to get better each and every single year. We want to send as many young women to these galvanized camps as we possibly can. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. You'll see the three of us on NPI the first week of the NFL season. We'll be back later, too, on Wednesdays, but the official comeback of NPI the first week of the NFL season, the Wednesday before kickoff between the Ravens and the Chiefs on Thursday night. We will see you then.